Very good evening, everyone. My name is Arni Ekholm. I'm the Managing Director of Relais Group, and I'm delighted to be able to present our company to you this evening. What is Relais? I guess there are quite a few people who don't know what we do, so I'm more than happy to open up the way we operate and what we do and what our target is for the coming years. We are specialists in our industry, which is the vehicle aftermarket, which I will explain later. We consolidate the Nordic vehicle aftermarket. Currently, we are already one of the leading and the most profitable growth platforms in our industry in Northern Europe. Why do we focus on the vehicle aftermarket? It's because there's the best value creation potential in the market. It's also less cyclical and more defensive than many other markets and grows steadily, which is very important from an investor point of view. One other thing that is important to understand is that a large part of our business comes from commercial vehicles, and I will explain later why is that important and good for the company. We aim to create shareholder value by achieving strong profit growth with a strategy which is very clear. It's based on three mutually supportive factors: acquisitions, organic growth, and operational efficiency. What is the vehicle aftermarket? I promise to open up that a bit more. I mean, you can think about a vehicle being manufactured in a specific country, and then it's exported into a market, like let's say Finland or Sweden, and then it's resold further to the end user. We do not focus on sales of new or pre-owned vehicles. We focus on the aftermarket, i.e. whatever happens to the vehicle after it has been distributed in the specific market. We are currently not engaged in activities in recycling and demolition, but we are also looking at that. So the hotspot for our operations and the acquisitions is in the chart. You can see the blue one in the middle. All from customizing and equipping of the vehicles, import and wholesale of parts and equipment, maintenance and repair, and other supporting services within the aftermarket. What are then the drivers of the market? What's driving the value and what's our angle to the market? There are about 19 million vehicles in the Nordic and Baltic roads. It's a stable growing market. The amount of vehicle has grown steadily, and it's not growing double-digit every year, but it's growing. The kind of installed base is very large and fragmented from a distribution point of view. The complexity, technological complexity of the spare parts and components drives value. I mean, the parts and components become more complicated. They have more electricity and technology, i.e. the value of the category is growing. Electrification and other new power line technologies are an opportunity to us. It drives value, opens up new business opportunities in all of the markets we operate in. E-commerce has drastically increased the need for last mile deliveries, which is then producing a lot of aftermarket potential for the light commercial vehicles and also heavy commercial vehicles. Digital disruption offering new opportunities to talk with our customers and the end users. So this is the target market. We estimate that to be roughly 20 billion euros in the Nordics and the Baltics. So there's still a lot of runway to take market shares. How is our business divided, or how does it work? How does it look like? 2/3 of our business and our companies comes from technical wholesale and products. I mean, why I use the word technical wholesale is that this is not just in quotation marks wholesaling. There's a lot of added value in guiding the customers and giving them enough information of what part to choose. So hence the technical wholesale, it's more complicated than for the wholesale in many other products. So it's really adding value. It's guiding the customers a lot. That's 2/3 of the business, and then 1/3 of the business operations come from repair maintenance companies for commercial vehicles in the Nordic countries, namely Finland and Sweden. We have 1,200 professionals in 6 different countries. And if we go back to the technical wholesale and products, it's also, you can divide that into 2 specific areas. We have companies mostly focusing on spare parts, heavy commercial vehicles, light commercial vehicles, and passenger cars. And then we also have many companies specialized in lighting and equipment. Vehicle lighting is a very important product group for us, which I will explain later. comprising of our own brands and own products with a big global potential for export. How has the journey been so far? The company is established in 2010. I joined the group in 2015, and it's been a fantastic journey. We have bought roughly 20 companies during the last 5 years. We got listed on the Helsinki First North Growth Market in 2019, more or less exactly 5 years ago, and then we made a transfer to the main list in 2022. So you can really see it's been a profitable and strong growth coming from both organic and acquired growth. How do we intend to grow in the future? We have multiple levers that we can use to continue the profitable growth journey. As I said, we are already a sizable platform and even a scalable platform for future growth. We can drive organic growth. We have been able to perform faster and stronger than our average market. We have advanced pricing strategies. We have been able to defend our pricing even in inflationary development of cost. Diversifying customer base. There's still pockets that we are not reaching to, pockets of markets. And then there are some product and service offerings that we can continue to explore. Operational excellence is in a way a buzzword, but for us it's very pragmatic. We learn from each other, we learn and benchmark between the companies, and we get stronger and better every day by exchanging information. We put purchase volumes together, negotiate framework contracts with our suppliers. That gives us additional clout in looking at the terms we get from the suppliers. We also try and optimize and focus on working capital levels, which are quite focal and important in a wholesale operation where you need to have the service level which is good enough for the customers, but it can't be too high that it binds too much capital. Bolt-on acquisitions in existing business areas, we can expand geographically. Still, we have some open spaces in the Nordic markets. We can look at different businesses to get critical competence in certain technologies. We can add new products and services, and we can also look at new vehicle types, which we are not operating in at the moment. And then we are also looking at acquiring of new platforms, which would be more or less transformational in nature, maybe outside the current business areas, but within vehicle aftermarket, or then add new business areas within the vehicle aftermarket. Good. Just a few words about Q3. That's the latest period that we have reported. It was the 7th consecutive quarter with EBITDA growth. If we just look at the 12 months running numbers here, our turnover grew with 10% and reached the 300 million bar. Then the comparable EBITDA grew with 18%, which was now at the end of September 34 million. I'm specifically glad for the good development on earnings per share, which grew with almost 30% up to €1 in the end of September. Looking at some of the capital return metrics, we see significant improvements in all key capital return metrics, and this is really for a company driving wholesale. The return on net working capital is a very important KPI. Usually, let's say the good level is 45%. We have reached 51%. Return on capital employed, also thinking about us as a compounder and consolidator, has grown from 10% to almost 13%. And return on equity also a very steep improvement at the end of Q3. So these are the latest numbers that we have reported. So all in all, very good usage of capital, which for our type of company is one of the key metrics. How do we employ the capital and try to make let's say, earnings growth with the companies that we acquire? Sales by segment, we have two segments, geographical segments, Scandinavia, comprising of Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, and then Finland and Baltics. And the offtake from this slide is to remember that 55% of our total revenues come from the Scandinavian markets, where Sweden is the absolutely biggest market. Sales by product group for the first 9 months, I already mentioned the repair and maintenance, which we also consider as a product group in this respect. 1/3. Spare parts, 30%. You can see it's very stable. The only change maybe here is just the amount of equipment, which for us is electrical equipment and workshop equipment, has grown from 16% to 18%. And the lighting business is roughly 20% now. It's 18% relatively, but growing in absolute terms. Then about acquisitions, that's the heart of our actions, and it's very, you can see that the journey we have done. We have done a lot of acquisitions, and we continue scanning the market for acquisition opportunities all the time. In any given time, we have a number of discussions and dialogues ongoing with different parties. Some take months, some take years. This is all about, let's say, sowing the seed in the market, and then to become the acquirer of choice for the entrepreneurs and owners who want to sell to us. There are several interesting targets having a good strategic fit with us. I mean, I said that the market is fragmented, so there'd be always good companies to look at. This year we have made 2 acquisitions on the heavy commercial vehicle repair and maintenance business, and we aim to, of course, continue doing the acquisitions in an increasing pace coming to next year. So this is a schematic approach to how would it look like in a typical year on the Scandinavian or Nordic markets. We have identified roughly 550 companies that are in the scope, 170 of them identified as acquisition candidates, 50 plus as priority targets, and then we, as I said, at any given time have, let's say, 10 to 20 companies in active dialogue in different stages of maturity, and we aim to complete an average of 3 to 4 acquisitions per year. How does the outlook look like? I mean, okay, we are in mid of December. This is the official outlook we wrote in September, which is still, of course, valid. The way we described the rest of the year when we wrote this outlook in end of September, after end of September, I mean, it came out in November. The outlook for the rest of the year looks stable. I mean, the market, we do not see any dramatic changes in the underlying market. As I said, the aftermarket is defensive by nature. The economic times are quite rough at the moment, especially in Finland. You can see it on the sales of new vehicles, but then again, we are an aftermarket company, and at the moment, at least, are able to enjoy from the defensive nature of the market and the not so sensitive cyclical market. Our inventory and resource situation is good. A couple of years ago, there were lack of components. Now there are, let's say, no lack of components, so we can actually very well meet the demands of the customers, come what may. Just before the last slide, I want to remind you of our financial target for the 25, which is 50 million comparable EBITDA euro, including also all the acquisitions we make on a pro forma basis next year. And then to summarize, Relais as an investment, active consolidator, compounder, competent compounder with a clear focus on the vehicle aftermarket. We have a track record of successful M&A in a highly fragmented industry with significant acquisition opportunities also for the future. We are exposed to a large, resilient, and structurally growing market. This is a platform which is scalable and it's diversified with diversified business areas with a strong growth potential already per se. We have a consistent, strong, and profitable organic revenue growth with cash-generative business model. So we have a good cash conversion and good cash flow, which is then also fueling our acquisition power for the future. And our business model is decentralized and light, so we do not accrue overhead. So we have a very lean and effective business model with entrepreneurial culture and values in our companies. Just the final slide here to show the performance, the share performance from 2019, including the total shareholder revenue or return with dividends paid during the last years. We have outpaced the Helsinki Index 25 index with 3.2 times, and the total shareholder return since IPO is almost 100%. So it's been a good development as well there. So that was my presentation. I want to thank you all and wish you a good evening.
Thank you, Arni, and
yes.
Let's continue with the Q&A.
Thank you.
Just a reminder to anyone watching through the webcast, you have an opportunity to ask questions through the chat function, and we have a few questions here, so let's kick it off with this. The first one is actually looking back at the 5 years you've been listed on the stock exchange. How would you evaluate your performance during the 5 years you've been listed in Helsinki? On what front have you succeeded, and what could have been done better?
I think we have said what we said. We have also performed and kind of produced. I mean, our target was first to double the turnover of the company. We in 5 years, so we came there in about a couple of years, and then we changed the target into even higher, then changed it to a profit target, and we are beating the Helsinki index. Of course, I admit the Helsinki index is not a very good one, but let's say a total shareholder return of almost 100% in 5 years is not bad. Yeah, we could have done more acquisitions. I think so. I mean, we are very disciplined. So our business model is also reliant on from the fact that the capital allocation and the deployment of capital, we need to meet certain metrics. So it would be easy to buy companies if we wouldn't have to care about what price you pay. But we want to have a good return for the shareholders. So I'd rather walk away from a bad deal than let's say, and wait for the good deal.
Yeah, you need to be selective.
Absolutely.
Let's continue on the acquisitions. If we continue looking back, how would you evaluate your prior acquisitions? Has the strategy been value creative?
I think so, yeah. Of course, there are differences in the different business areas are by nature are different already. If we look at the repair and maintenance business, where traditionally or generally, let's say the EBITDA or EBITDA percentages vary between, let's say, a small, lowish single digit, we have reached already and approaching a double-digit EBITDA percentage. So we have been able to develop the companies in that sector. Say most of the wholesale companies we have bought have been able also to perform better. But of course, you have different challenges. And let's say the year 22 was a tough one. There was a lot of lack of components, and also, yeah, we all know what happened in 22 in the market. So let's say, but that has nothing to do with the acquisitions. All in all, I would say we are happy. But there are always, if I have many kids, always some of them might have some challenges.
Sure.
That I try to father them to the right direction.
Definitely, yes. Then continuing actually on acquisitions, how would you describe an ideal acquisition target for Relais?
There would be many different levels in ideal acquisition targets. I mean, you would have these kind of smaller bolt-on acquisitions to existing platforms, where we would want to see, I mean, in all types of acquisitions, whether it's bolt-on or, let's say, medium-sized or transformative, what we typically want to see is a sustainable level of profitability. I mean, we seldom buy companies that have recently experienced a hockey stick type of development, or at least we need to understand why the development has been what it has. I mean, we value this kind of a steady, stable, but still growing market performance for the companies, and a strong, let's say, ownership. There might be an entrepreneur who sells his or her baby to us, or terrible to say that, or life work to us, or then it could be a private equity selling to us. But mostly we would like to keep the kind of entrepreneurial spirit, and that's the kind of a dream scenario where the entrepreneur stays on with a certain structure.
Sure. One more on the M&A topic. How much room do you have for future acquisitions?
Yeah, it's a good question. We currently have a certain amount left from the senior facility. Then, of course, we can use our share. We have a mandate of 20% issuing new shares. And also there are different types of tools in the toolbox. We usually, let's say, tend to buy a majority and then maybe leave a minority for a certain amount of period, of a certain period of time, with an earnout mechanism, or then there's a vendor note possibility. So all in all, I say that we have a good potential to then collect maybe new funding if needed, or then just to carry on with the current pace with the current funding we have.
Then let's jump onto competition. There are a lot of wholesale companies and repair and maintenance companies on the markets. Can you differentiate in this business somehow from competition?
Yeah, that's again good question. I mean, let's take the repair and maintenance of the commercial vehicles first. It's very typical in the Nordic markets and maybe elsewhere in Europe that the OE players or the vehicle aftermarket, the vehicle manufacturers control that market. They have a very high market share. Not to give any names, but the most, let's say, known truck brands would maybe typically have 70 to 80% of the repair market. So which leaves about 20 to 30% for the so-called independent aftermarket. That's the share that we are pushing actively to offer these possibilities for the fleet customers, transport companies, that, hey, you can actually repair and maintain your vehicle also outside the OE sphere, so to speak. So that would be the let's say, main competitors from our perspective would be the OE players. Then looking at the wholesale, there are some Nordic level, let's say, operators as well, but quite often in this business, they are also our customers since we are very niche and specialized wholesalers. So it's more complicated than that, just to point out. There is competition, of course, and it's always good for the customer's point of view as well. There's competition. Nothing really dramatic has changed during the last years. The picture is quite stable.
Sure. One more question, unless someone sends another one, but you've been at Relais for a long time. How has the number of potential purchase targets changed over the years?
Well, as I said, or showed in the presentation, we have roughly, say, 170 targets that we have identified. That has changed, of course. Let's say the strategy for 10 years ago was different than it's now. So we're looking at different types of companies, but within the aftermarket. So it's not always the same. If I'm saying that we have about 10 to 20 discussions ongoing, some of them don't materialize. So there's always new stuff coming into the pipeline. Hard to say whether the division of the targets from business unit to another has changed so a lot. Some of them are opportunistic as well, that the owner matures into a situation where he or she wants to sell the company. So complicated answer to a simple question, but it's impossible to say how it has changed, but it has changed. And some of the targets come up again after a certain period of time.
Right. I'll use this opportunity to ask one more on the same topic. Has the process of your acquisition, when you do an acquisition, has the process changed over the course of this period? And then thinking of how you've grown over size, have you been able to scale the process? So educate
absolutely.
everyone in the company.
It has changed from actually then basically myself and one board member doing them in the beginning to that now we have an M&A department of two very highly professional people, and then we have an investment committee with myself and the M&A team and the chairman of the board and one board member. And also we have then trained the unit managers or the managing directors to also run their own processes, and we help them, of course, in that. But we have a playbook, a 100-day onboarding program, and also a playbook of how to do acquisitions. But we help the company, so we can spread the responsibility to our 20 companies who also feed into the pipeline. But they can also run their own processes with our help or external help. So it has changed a lot.
One more question, if I may. Risto managed to throw in one. Yeah. What kind of bottlenecks does Relais have? Why don't you aim for stronger growth?
As I said, it would be easy to buy anything if you pay anything they ask. So I do not consider it as a negative bottleneck. I regard it from a shareholder point of view that the discipline is good, because then we can make sure that the return on investment is good as well. So if we would have unlimited funding, then we would do more deals. But then again, it might be that the flip side of the coin is that then you tend to buy stuff with not so disciplined way. And other types of bottlenecks, I do not really. I think we have let's say enough resources at the moment to still continue a good growth. But if we are talking about doubling the let's say the size of the company, that would require transformative acquisitions. It's very hard to do that in an organic environment. It would let's say in 1 year or something like that. But so that would be my answer to your last question. Or do you still have more?
I think we'll finish here. Thank you very much, and
yes.
wishing you all the best for
Thank you. The
next
same.
year.
Thank you.
Thank you.